What would you do if a billionaire mother disguised herself as a janitor, just to find out who truly deserved her son's heart? In a world where everyone's chasing power and status, one woman went undercover with a mop, a fake name and a secret mission, to find a love that money couldn't buy. The chandeliers glimmered like captured stars, but Mrs. Eleanor Chen saw only emptiness in their light. The charity gala should have been the proud showcase of her family's name, a night of elegance, philanthropy, and meaning. Instead, it was another circus of selfies, champagne, and shallow laughter. Across the ballroom, her son Michael was surrounded by cameras and people who wanted a piece of him. Beside him, his date, a micro-celebrity with 10 million followers and perhaps 10 minutes of genuine charm, posed as if every flash were oxygen. Eleanor watched quietly from her corner table. She had worn her favorite silver gown, the one her late husband used to say made her look like a queen who had seen everything and still cared. Tonight, she felt like a queen presiding over decay. When Michael laughed at a joke that wasn't funny, something broke inside her. He was brilliant, driven, and kind once. As a boy, he built computers from scrap parts and donated them to orphanages. But somewhere along the way, after the IPO and the Forbes cover, his heart had shifted. Success had replaced sincerity. Now he dated ambition wrapped in perfume. By the time dessert arrived, Eleanor had made her decision. She excused herself, leaving behind a table of socialites who barely noticed she was gone. Her driver opened the car door. She waved him off. "I'll drive myself tonight," she said. The mansion was silent when she returned. Even silence in that place was expensive. Marble floors, gold fixtures, and an ocean view that seemed to whisper you have everything. But she knew better. She had power, legacy, and a son she no longer recognized. She poured herself a cup of jasmine tea and stared at her reflection in the kitchen window. A woman with grace, money, and too much distance from the world she once fought to understand. Then she smiled. Slowly. Purposefully. If her son's heart was hidden behind the walls of his own company, she would go there herself. Not as Eleanor Chen, billionaire philanthropist, but as someone no one would notice. Someone who could see what others were when they believed no one important was watching. The idea thrilled her. It terrified her too. But Eleanor had built empires from nothing before. She could build a disguise. By morning, she was in her study with her longtime assistant, Maria Alvarez, the only person she trusted to keep this secret. "Rosa Martinez," Maria said, scanning the falsified application papers Eleanor had drafted overnight. Age 62. Experience in maintenance and janitorial services. Lives in South San Francisco. You've even got fake references from a hospital. Eleanor grinned. If my son can build an AI that mimics human empathy, I can certainly fake a cleaning resume. Maria hesitated. "Madam, this is extreme. You're planning to mop floors." "Maria, I built Chin Technologies from a garage. I mopped floors then too." Eleanor adjusted her glasses. Maybe it's time Michael remembered where he came from. Maria sighed. "And your name?" Eleanor took a breath. "Rosa Martinez." 3 days later, Rosa Martinez reported for her first night shift at Chin Technologies. Gone was the immaculate hair and designer jewelry. She wore a shapeless gray cardigan, thick stockings, and a pair of old sneakers Maria had scuffed with sandpaper. Her once sleek black hair was hidden beneath a dull gray wig. She even practiced a slight stoop, a faint accent, and the quiet humility of someone the world rarely sees. When she arrived at the sleek glass building that bore her family's name, the security guard barely lifted his eyes. "Cleaner's entrance, ma'am," he muttered, pointing around back. "Of course," she said softly. No one recognized her. No one even looked long enough to. Inside, the HR manager scanned her papers without interest. "You'll be working nights, floor 3 through 6. Report any incidents through the janitorial log. Don't disturb meetings. Don't leave cleaning supplies out. That's all." "Thank you," Rosa said. The woman had already turned away. By midnight, Eleanor was alone on the third floor, the research wing. The hum of machines replaced the music of the gala. She moved the mop slowly, her reflection warped in the glossy tiles. She had been invisible before in boardrooms filled with men who underestimated her. But this was different. This was chosen invisibility. She watched the engineers typing furiously at their screens, the managers pacing, the interns asleep at their desks. They never glanced her way. She was a ghost moving through their empire. One man nearly tripped over her mop bucket and scowled. "Watch it, lady." "Sorry, sir," she whispered. He was a vice president. She remembered his name from quarterly reports. He didn't remember hers, or even care that she had one. That night, Eleanor began her real work. Not cleaning floors but cleaning illusions. Every gesture, every word, every careless act told her more about the company than any executive report. She noticed who threw their trash on the floor and who bent down to pick it up. Who greeted her and who looked through her. And then there was one woman, a mid-level programmer who worked late in heels, humming softly as she debugged code. When Eleanor entered with her mop, the woman looked up, smiled and said, "Good evening. Tough night." Eleanor blinked. "A little, yes." "Hang in there," the woman said, returning to her keyboard. "You're doing great work." Eleanor felt something stir, a rare warmth she hadn't felt all evening. She wrote the name down on her mental list. Sarah. The mop water rippled under the fluorescent light. Eleanor smiled faintly. Maybe this disguise would do more than test others. Maybe it would remind her what real worth looked like, and what love in its simplest form still felt like. Outside the city slept. Inside, Rosa Martinez began her watch. The night stretched long at Chin Technologies. Rows of monitors glowed like constellations, and the hum of servers filled the silence like a heartbeat. For most employees, midnight meant escape. Another day survived, another paycheck earned. But for Sarah Chin it was the hour of focus. Eleanor, still Rosa to everyone, noticed her again the next night and the night after that. The same desk, the same quiet determination. Sarah worked with the calm rhythm of someone who believed in what she was building. No sighing, no complaining, no rushing to leave. Just quiet persistence, lit by the pale blue light of her screen. Most nights, she was the only one who looked up when Eleanor entered. "Good evening, Rosa," she would say with that easy smile that reached her eyes. "Good evening, dear," Eleanor would reply, careful to keep her voice low, her disguise intact. It was such a small thing, a greeting, but to Eleanor it felt monumental. In a world where everyone looked through her, Sarah looked at her. One Thursday night, after an especially chaotic executive meeting, Eleanor entered the conference room to find chaos. Spilled coffee, half-eaten pastries, crumpled papers, and a shattered glass on the floor. She sighed softly and reached for the mop. Before she could begin, Sarah appeared in the doorway, jacket slung over her arm, laptop bag at her side. "They really outdid themselves tonight," she said, eyeing the mess. Eleanor chuckled. "They must have had an important discussion." Sarah bent down, rolling up her sleeves. "Important people don't leave this much trash," she said, kneeling beside her. Eleanor froze. "You don't have to." "I know," Sarah interrupted gently, picking up the shards of glass. "But no one should have to clean up someone else's disrespect alone." For a long moment, neither spoke. The only sound was the soft swish of the mop and the quiet rustle of napkins. Eleanor watched her, not just her hands but the way she worked, unbothered, kind, efficient. "Why are you still here this late?" Eleanor asked finally. Sarah shrugged, a little shy. "I like it when it's quiet. I can think. Also, I've been debugging an education app I'm building." "Oh, for work?" She smiled. "No. For kids who can't afford coding lessons. I want to make something free, something that opens doors the way people once opened them for me." Eleanor paused mid-swipe. That's quite admirable. Sarah shook her head. It's survival, really. I grew up in a one-bedroom apartment with my parents and two brothers. My mom still cleans houses. My dad drives nights. I got into MIT on scholarship, but I worked 3 jobs to stay there. When you've been given help, you don't forget what it feels like to need it. Eleanor's throat tightened. She looked down, pretending to ring the mop. They must be proud of you. I hope so, Sarah said softly. I just want to make them rest someday. The sincerity in her voice cracked something open in Eleanor's chest. This girl, no, this woman, was the kind of strength she'd hoped Michael would one day see. As Sarah gathered her things to leave, she turned and said, "Good night, Rosa. Try not to work too hard." When she was gone, Eleanor stood in the empty conference room, surrounded by the echo of her words. She smiled, a rare, full smile, and whispered to herself, "I think I've found you." The mop water shimmered in the light, like a quiet reflection of hope. The following week, Eleanor found herself thinking about Sarah more than she expected. Each night, she replayed their brief conversations. The way Sarah spoke with quiet conviction, the way kindness seemed to come from her as naturally as breath. Eleanor had met countless people who claimed to care. Sarah didn't need to say it, she simply did. But admiration wasn't enough. Eleanor had come here with a mission, to find someone who could remind her son what sincerity looked like. And now she had found her candidate. All that remained was to make their worlds collide. It began with a folder. One evening, while emptying trash bins in the programming department, Eleanor noticed Sarah's open laptop and a printed proposal beside it. She glanced down, an app designed for teaching underprivileged children coding through interactive stories. Clean interface, sharp logic, heart-driven concept. Eleanor smiled. Brilliant. By morning, that same proposal had somehow slipped into Michael Chen's sleek leather briefcase. 2 days later, Eleanor stood in the hallway, mop in hand, pretending to clean the glass walls of the executive offices when Michael's voice echoed across the floor. "Can someone get Sarah Chen from programming?" Her pulse quickened. From behind the glass, she watched Sarah enter the office, cautious but confident, clutching her notebook. Michael looked up, curious for once, his usual arrogance softened by intrigue. "I read your proposal," he said. "Where did you learn to think like this?" Sarah blinked, surprised. "Mostly from teaching myself. And from growing up where tech wasn't accessible. I figured if no one builds for people like us, someone has to start." For the first time in years, Michael didn't glance at his phone or interrupt. He just listened. Through the reflection in the glass, Eleanor saw something she hadn't seen in a long time, her son's genuine interest. Not in profits, not in prestige, but in someone's mind. After that day, small coincidences began to happen around the office. The coffee machine on the 4th floor mysteriously broke one morning, forcing Michael to wait in the lounge while Sarah happened to be fixing it, sleeves rolled up, grease on her hands, laughter bubbling between them as she explained the wiring. A week later, Eleanor forgot important design documents in the elevator. Sarah found them and personally returned them to Michael's office, staying for a conversation that turned into an impromptu brainstorming session. Eleanor watched from afar, from behind glass walls, from corridors, from shadows. Each time she saw Michael laugh, the sound struck her like sunlight through a storm. He wasn't performing. He wasn't pretending. He was alive. Yet Eleanor never stopped testing. She left heavier trash bags, forgot her cleaning cart in Sarah's path, or appeared during stressful nights just to see if Sarah would still notice her. And she always did. "Need a hand, Rosa? Here, take a break, I'll do that part. You shouldn't be carrying that much weight alone." Eleanor would smile quietly every time. Sarah passed every test without knowing one existed. And as Eleanor watched her son's walls begin to crumble, she realized that love, the genuine kind, didn't need wealth or design. It only needed the right people, crossing paths at the right time. 3 months passed and Chin Technologies felt lighter, like someone had opened the windows and let the stale air escape. Michael Chin, once married to his work, now left the office before midnight. He laughed more, snapped less, and spent his weekends not at investor dinners but at Sarah's small coding school downtown, helping children set up their first laptops. Eleanor watched the change unfold from her quiet post as Rosa, the cleaner who was everywhere and nowhere. Sometimes as she dusted the corridor railings, she'd hear her son's voice drifting from Sarah's workspace, gentle, amused, alive. The transformation was undeniable. The man who once measured life by quarterly reports now measured it by smiles. But what struck Eleanor most wasn't how Michael had changed. It was how Sarah hadn't. Despite the growing affection, the promotion offers, the newfound attention, Sarah remained exactly who she'd always been. The first to greet the security guard, the one who carried trays for the cafeteria staff, the one who stayed behind to help a janitor finish cleanup. Even now, as the CEO's girlfriend, she'd kneel to pick up paper scraps that others stepped over. Every small act reaffirmed Eleanor's choice. Every smile reminded her that Sarah wasn't performing, she was simply being. Still, the old businesswoman in Eleanor believed that true character showed under pressure. And there was one final thing she needed to know before she revealed herself. It happened late one Friday night. The office was mostly empty, just the soft whir of computers and the faint glow of the city lights beyond the glass. Sarah was reviewing her final presentation for a new project, a major one Michael had entrusted entirely to her. Eleanor entered quietly with her mop and bucket. Her heart beat fast. She felt almost cruel, but necessary truths often were. As she passed by Sarah's desk, she tripped, sending a cup of steaming coffee splashing across the laptop. The room went still. "Oh my God, I'm so," Eleanor started. But Sarah was already up, grabbing her hand. "Are you okay?" she asked urgently. "It didn't burn you, did it?" Eleanor blinked, startled. No, I'm fine, your laptop." Sarah glanced at the ruined screen, her project dissolving into static. She exhaled slowly then smiled. "It's all right. IT keeps backups." "You didn't mean it." Eleanor felt her throat tighten. There was no anger, no frustration, only composure, grace, and empathy. "I'm so sorry," Eleanor whispered. "It's just a thing," Sarah said gently, patting her hand. "People matter more." In that moment, Eleanor's heart swelled. The test was complete. A week later, the office buzzed with a different kind of energy. Michael had proposed. On the rooftop of Chin Technologies, beneath the same skyline his mother once stared at alone. He'd used his grandmother's ring, the one Eleanor had kept locked away for years, waiting for someone worthy of wearing it. Sarah had said yes. And now, as Eleanor, no longer Rosa, planned their engagement party, she knew the time had come. The disguise had served its purpose. The tests were over. At the celebration, beneath glittering chandeliers and the hum of laughter, Eleanor was ready, not to judge but to reveal. To finally show the woman who had unknowingly passed every trial what family truly looked like. The ballroom shimmered with golden light. Crystal chandeliers bathed the marble floor in a glow that seemed almost ethereal. Waiters drifted between tables, carrying glasses of champagne and trays of laughter. It was a night that radiated perfection. The engagement of Michael Chin, tech visionary, and Sarah Chin, the woman who had somehow softened him into humanity. Eleanor stood near the stage, her heart pounding behind a practiced smile. She had orchestrated galas, product launches, even billion-dollar mergers. But nothing had ever made her palms sweat like this. Tonight wasn't business. Tonight was confession. As the music faded, she took the microphone. The crowd quieted. Michael turned, curious. "Thank you all for being here," Eleanor began, her voice steady though her hands trembled. "Tonight isn't just a celebration of love. It's also a night for truth." She paused, eyes sweeping across the room. "Many of you know me as Eleanor Chen. But for the past 3 months, inside this very company, I've been someone else." A murmur rippled through the guests. "I've been your cleaner," she said softly. "Rosa Martinez." The room gasped. Forks froze midair. Cameras clicked. Michael blinked in disbelief. "Mom, what?" Eleanor met his eyes, tears glinting. "I wanted to see the kind of people who surrounded my son. Not the ones who show up for power or parties, but the ones who stay for heart. And in doing so, I met Sarah." All eyes turned to Sarah. She didn't look shocked. She didn't even look surprised. Instead, she smiled gently and stood. "I know," she said. The room went still. Eleanor frowned, caught off guard. "You knew?" Sarah nodded. "I recognized you during our second encounter. There's a photo of you and Michael in his office, from the Forbes gala." Her tone was calm, warm. "I didn't say anything because it didn't matter who you were. I didn't treat Rosa kindly to impress anyone. I treated her kindly because every person deserves respect, regardless of their position." A hush fell over the room, broken only by the faint clinking of glasses. Then Sarah tilted her head, a playful smile curling her lips. "Though I have to say, Mrs. Chen, you held the mop upside down for 3 weeks." Laughter erupted like a wave. Even Michael doubled over, shaking his head. Eleanor laughed through her tears, her elegant composure dissolving into pure joy. She stepped forward and embraced Sarah tightly. "My dear," she whispered, voice breaking, "welcome to the family." Michael slipped his arm around Sarah, eyes shining. "You passed a test you never even knew existed," he said softly. Sarah smiled, brushing a tear from Eleanor's cheek. "That's the best kind, isn't it?" The band struck up a soft tune. Applause filled the hall. As Eleanor looked at them, her son reborn, his bride radiant, she realized the truth she'd been chasing wasn't about wealth or wisdom. The real treasure wasn't finding someone who could impress her son. It was finding someone who never tried to. And in that moment, beneath the golden light, Eleanor Chen finally felt her empire was complete.